It's amazing how things have worked out in the last few weeks. So the way that I thought about having you on here was spontaneous. And what it was is, I relaunched my podcast, Chasing Glory. I had Steve Austin on my show. Then I had Dolph Ziggler on my show, which then led to having Drew McIntyre because they're partners. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, but now Seth Rollins is in the mix with them in a storyline. So let me have Seth on the show. And then as I was talking to Seth, you came up, and that's when I hung up the phone and I was like, I have to get Sting on the show. And the reason that you came up was because I had read, when I was talking to Seth, I had read where you had said that you found that he was the most talented professional wrestler that you have ever seen or worked with. And I spoke to Seth about that, got his take on that, and then found out that he dressed up like you for Halloween for 2 years in a row. Did you know that?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I've used that a few times with him. As a matter of fact, I believe that I shared that in my Hall of Fame speech.
Oh,
I did talk about
right.
Seth and some others that, they I can't believe how many wrestlers, fans too, but especially wrestlers, that actually dressed up like me for Halloween. And some of them Surfer Sting, some of them the Crow Sting, and I think it's kind of funny. It's humbling, actually.
I was going to ask you how you felt about that, because as I'm reading on and getting to know more about you in depth, right? Because you and I touched surface, but I really wanted to get to know the person of who you are. I'm sitting there finding out that you've affected, of course, John Cena, Shelton Benjamin, Cody Rhodes, Kurt Angle, Bill Goldberg, Kane, AJ Styles, Goldust. The list goes on. Bray Wyatt wants to have his final match with you. How does it feel for you to have all of these people that in one way or another you've affected along the way?
Humbling. I'm a guy who didn't know anything about pro wrestling, when I got started, and just a young guy living out in California, living the life out there with no real direction, no real goals or plan or anything. And, I end up in the pro wrestling world and just a little peon, those first, year and a half, 2 years, until I started wrestling, big matches against, Ric Flair, world title matches, and, never really having any, I wasn't a second generation wrestler. I wasn't an NFL player. I wasn't an Olympic athlete. I wasn't anything. I have the equivalent of a high school education, a couple years of junior college, and that's it. And so all these years later to have done extraordinary things, I give all credit to God.
Oh, wow.
and don't worry, I won't do a bunch of preaching. Don't worry. But
you know what?
God did it. He did extraordinary things with a very ordinary guy. And then Seth Rollins and John Cena, and these guys are dressing like me for Halloween as kids. It's just unbelievable to me.